Standardized tests have been around for over 100 years. Some people see these tests as a necessary tool and effective for assessing students. Other people would say that standardized tests are not a good method for assessing student growth and learning. According to the National Education Association, standardized tests began in the mid-1800s, around the time schools changed their mission to educating the masses instead of catering to the elite. In 1845, Horace Mann suggested that the Boston public school system prove the knowledge of the students through written tests. He wanted equal opportunity for all students and was seeking to find the best teaching methods. The tests became more common in the early 1900s. The NEA endorsed them in 1914. Between 1908 and 1916, Edward Thorndike, along with Columbia University students, developed standardized achievement tests in 6 subjects. In 2001, No Child Left Behind education reform is its expansion of state-mandated standardized testing as a means of assessing school performance. Now most students are tested each year of grade school as well. At that time, testing of students had been happening for 150 years. In 2015, the Every Student Succeeds Act tried to reduce standardized testing. Their efforts reduced the statewide assessments to only grades 3 to 8 and 1 test in high school. Standardized tests are designed with specific guidelines. They come with manuals that tell how they were constructed and how the scoring system was developed. The manual also tells how to administer the test. Certain sections are timed by the person administering the test. Responses must be given in a specific way, such as filling in the correct oval or bubble. Standardized tests are administered, scored, and interpreted in a standard manner. Standardized tests include developmental inventories, pre-kindergarten developmental screening tests, reading tests and inventories, academic readiness tests, diagnostic tools for special needs, group aptitude and achievement tests, and tests in almost any developmental or curriculum domain. They are usually developed, published, and distributed by commercial publishers. A standardized test usually has a scoring system that compares an individual's scores to the scores of a specific population of people. Standardized tests are administered to gauge whether children are making progress towards state and national standards or to check on acquisition of essential literacy skills. Standardized screening and diagnostic tests are used to identify children who may have a learning problem or a handicapping condition or at risk for reading difficulties. Achievement tests are used to show that children are above or below the state or national average and to give schools report cards. Standardized aptitude tests or ability tests are intended to predict future performance or success in a given area of training or in an occupation. They are often used for program placement, career decisions, or to measure general intellectual functioning, such as an intelligence or IQ test. I agree with many educators that would say the focus on standardized testing is not good for authentic student learning. There are several reasons many educators feel this way. I will discuss some of them that I agree with. Standardized testing makes teachers fit much of their instruction to fit the test, even if they feel that the content is not worthy of their teaching time. Preparing their students for and the time in taking the test eats many hours for teachers. Early education teachers need to know about standardized tests and testing, how such tests are constructed and scored, and how to evaluate them, prepare young children to take them, and explain the resulting scores to others. The one-time-a-year testing does not suit the way children grow. According to our textbook, children's development and learning proceed unevenly with spurts and regressions. Some children may have a light bulb moment where everything clicks and they are able to achieve a great amount suddenly. Some children progress in tiny increments that few tests are sensitive enough to detect, yet progress is real and significant for that child. Tests are often used as the main way for schools to stay accountable. In comparing schools, states, and testing years, it is decided who ranks where solely based on the scores of one test. It has also decided what teachers are doing well or poorly based on the scores of standardized tests. Decisions should be made by using several assessments, not just one. The tests may not match what the local curriculum is trying to teach the students. This creates a problem of the teacher having to teach to the test instead of following the curriculum. The role of standardized tests in early education. Standard aptitude tests can measure general intelligence functioning, such as IQ tests. Tests are sometimes used to make high-stakes decisions as to whether a child is ready for kindergarten or needs to be held back a grade. The main purpose of standardized tests is to give teachers a perspective that is unbiased and objective as to how effective their teaching is. These tests can help identify the strengths of individual students and can identify progress and skill development. The results of the standardized tests are also helpful in evaluating a school's overall performance. Test results are often used to indicate subject areas that may need to be taught differently or in a greater depth. The results reflect how well the students are absorbing and grasping the basic concepts of classroom instruction. Poor test results may indicate problems with the way in which the material is being organized and presented. There are several alternatives to standardized testing that I would recommend. Dynamic assessment, software-mediated learning, and portfolios, I believe, are much better alternatives. On page 55 of our textbook, it describes dynamic assessment. This type of assessment uses Vygotsky's concept of the zone of proximal development. Using this method provides information of lower levels, that of a child being completely unassisted, to upper levels of maximum assistance possible from a teacher. Examining the assistance that makes a difference in the child's ability to perform a task often reveals the child's current level of understanding and skill and gives direction for future teaching. In this method of assessment, we are not only seeing what a child can do on his own, but are also testing skills that are on the verge of emerging. Those skills can be probed as a teacher interacts with the child. Teachers try to identify learning strategies a child already uses, as well as instructional processes most likely to promote future learning. In researching alternatives, I came across the idea of software-mediated learning on the School of Education website for American University. This type of assessment comes while children are playing computer games. Because of the game format, the children would not be stressed out like they usually are taking the standardized test. The kids would be tested while having fun. Game-based assessments gather data on student performances without requiring the student to stop their learning activity and take a test. The computer records every answer and measures progress. Specific games are listed in the article that measure things like systems thinking, argumentation, qualitative physics, and the understanding of the concept of area. Games offer the opportunity for teachers to understand the learning and solving process rather than just grading a final answer. Portfolio-based assessments are another good alternative. During the school year, teachers and students gather work which shows student progress and achievement in various subjects such as English or science. Students are usually encouraged to reflect on the work that has been selected. Such reflection helps students think not only about what they have learned, but about their own learning processes, all of which contributes to the overall goal of improving student learning. Growth portfolios show change over time and identify strengths and weaknesses of the student. They can track the development of both single assignments or multiple assignments or performances. Evaluation profiles show the process of the completed work and display student achievement based on specific curricular goals. According to newschools.org, there are some drawbacks to portfolio-based assignments. They are too subjective and require a lot of storage space. When students move from grade to grade or school to school, what happens with their portfolios? A couple of sheets of paper from every grade showing test scores takes up much less room and is easier to transport than portfolios. The last alternative I would like to discuss is performance exams. The tests are given to all students and are based on the students performing a task. Some of those tasks may include writing essays, conducting science experiments, and oral presentations that are videotaped. These exams are then graded independently by other teachers from that school district. 2 teachers may read an essay, and the final score would be the average score of the 2 teachers, unless their scores differ by more than 1 point, in which case a 3rd teacher would come in to score it. The performance exams can be used to double check how well the teachers are scoring portfolios. If one is high and the other is low, or vice versa, a follow-up is needed. Performance exams drive the curriculum in positive ways. The teachers can focus on actual student writing. They have led to more hands-on or science experiments where students actually learn the scientific process and how to reflect on and analyze data, rather than merely answering questions at the end of a textbook chapter. Oral presentations get students actively involved instead of passively listening to lectures. The emphasis should stay on high-level thinking skills, not recall and memorization. When integrated into ongoing curriculum, this method of assessing can be especially useful. As with any assessment method, there are drawbacks. Performance exams have not been used more widely in part because they take considerable time, both for the classroom teacher and the district. It takes time, expertise, and ultimately money to develop the prompts and score the assessments, to say nothing of training teachers in activity-based teaching methods necessary for such performance assessments.